When I was a kid, my biggest dream was to be an architect, to build houses, huge houses, white bungalows on the green fields. And today I am an architect, but at the same time, building new has already caused some sleepless nights. After studying architecture for 7 years, I figured out that if I love this planet, I should actually never build a single new building. Instead, today my biggest dream is to help solve the housing shortage without building new. And I would like to show to you how this could work. Worldwide and in Germany, more than 3/4 of the population live in cities now. And though these figures may have changed, they still reflect a major concern in large urban areas. I would like to check with you guys. Who of you has been hunting for a flat, let's say, in the last 2 years? Please raise your hand. Well, I was expecting exactly to see that. And I'm quite sure we've all experienced at some point the struggles and the challenges of apartment hunting in densely populated areas. It not only takes time, no, it also takes a lot of compromising as well. And this is a dilemma. On the one hand, there is a lack of affordable housing, while on the other, a constantly rising demand for affordable housing. Some call this a housing shortage, but I call it a housing crisis. The obvious solution seems to be, we just need to build more. However, this is not an optimal solution. And here are 3 reasons why. First, the building industry, at least in Germany, fails completely in delivering 400,000 apartments a year. And there's a couple of reasons why. There's a lack of craftsmen, there's a lack of building material, and interest rates have been rising enormously. And this situation has become even worse due to the pandemic and the war in Ukraine. Second, there is a lack of affordability when it comes to housing products. The growing pace of boarding houses, office towers, and residential luxury apartment blocks can be noticeable. But decent, affordable housing for low-income families is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Neither the state nor the free market with its private investors have a feasible answer to the rising demand yet. Instead, we're facing luxury housing products and no provision of affordable flats at all. And third, the most obvious reason, climate change. Are you aware that the building industry is responsible for 40% of the worldwide carbon dioxide emissions every single year? Lessons learned, building new is no sustainable solution to the housing shortage. You may ask yourself now, well, if building new is bad, but building wrong is even worse, what are the alternatives? For this, I'm going to take you on a trip down memory lane. When I was a student, I've always lived in the tiniest one-room apartments one could even imagine. My then life motto was, the less you own, the less you have to worry about. Yeah, and then the pandemic happened, which is quite a disaster if you live in a tiny flat. To accommodate my and my boyfriend's needs, we soon started looking for a bigger apartment. And here comes the surprise. We couldn't find one that was affordable in Munich. It felt like literally the entire city of Munich was looking for that 1-2-room flat, affordable, centrally located, and maybe with a balcony. Well, we didn't succeed, but we also didn't give up so easily. We expanded our search filters, we kept on searching, and one day we came across a house in Munich. Only to find out that the rent was unaffordable as well, but that was when the idea popped up. Why not share the house with 2 others and lower the rent? So we split the floors, put in a second kitchen, and moved in the 4 of us. 1 year later, 24th of February, 2022, Russian troops invaded the Ukraine. And until today, 900,000 people from Ukraine have registered in Germany. 900,000 people that need social integration, social welfare, and, you know what's coming now? A home. And when it came to us in our house, since we had the space, we didn't have to think twice about welcoming refugees. Since May, the 4 of us have 2 more housemates from Ukraine. Why am I telling you all this? Because again, there are 3 simple outtakes of my story. First, crisis in general, and in our case, the corona crisis and war in Ukraine, they encouraged us to change the way we think in terms of our standard of living. Second, overcoming one's own rigid ideas about housing can enrich us and help us find out how we want to live in the future. And third, if we really want to tackle this housing crisis, we might have to start thinking outside the box. But the key reason I'm telling you this story is so simple. A house which was inhabited by 1 man for the previous years is now housing 6 people. Great! Let's just all move into fat houses and open our doors to people in need, right? What a wonderful world. No? You're waiting for something? Obviously, this is not the solution I'm going to present to you today. No, I'm just kidding. But what can be an overall societal benefit of my story? Is there a way to turn this into a sustainable and scalable housing strategy that is inclusive for all? And that's why I'm here today. For the past 2 years, I have been taking a closer look at property markets, especially in Munich. And I have some bad, but I also have some very promising news for you. First, the bad ones. My research has left me speechless about our institutional inactivity when it comes to the provision of affordable housing in cities. Now, the good ones. The corona crisis provided us with $1 million gift. And to show you what I'm talking about, let's do a simple calculation. Let's go back to the 900,000 people that have registered in Germany lately, only from Ukraine. When it comes to Munich, in order to start a living there, you need the proof of residency as a refugee, which is already kind of a joke if you think back to what I've been telling you about the housing market, right? Anyways, at the very same time, only in Munich, there are 1 million square meters of offices still vacant as a result of the corona restrictions and new building completions. This equals the area of 150 football fields. So let's play a little bit with our imagination. 1 million square meters. If you divided them by 25 square meters, you could provide 40,000 people with a home. And we're not only talking about refugees, no, we're talking about all walks of life with an interest in temporary housing. What about students? How about commuters? How about medical staff coming to Germany for work? And what about future vacationers coming to Munich? Holiday in a vacant office? Sounds interesting? Do you believe me now if I tell you that the conversion of offices could help solve the housing crisis? I mean, we could not only provide people with homes in cities easily, no, by doing so, we could even counteract the progressing climate change, simply by not building and by rethinking our management and our distribution of the precious resource building. Imagine, we could provide people with homes in cities easily. Imagine vacancies would be completely redundant. And imagine we could even experiment new ways of co-living in vacant offices. And we, the creatives and the architects out there, we don't only have the expertise and the technological skills of turning offices into future homes. No, we also have the imagination of creating offices into cozy homes. And most importantly, we have the will to solve the housing crisis with you. And the best thing is, I can even show you what this can look like. In 2012, a group of creatives, architects, and the city of Offenbach, they took the risk and they revived an office tower that had been standing empty for 10 years into a so-called office home. This experiment lasted for 2 years and people were co-living and co-working there. And only 10 years later, a group of students from Stuttgart, they designed a wooden module that can turn open office structures into tiny one-room flats. Their name, Adapter, and they just presented their first prototype in June this year. So it's super fresh. You see, first we think the impossible, and then we make the impossible work. So let us one more time go back to my initial promises. The challenge, we need to solve the housing crisis without building new, simply by rethinking our management and our distribution of the resource building. During the pandemic, we learned to think outside the box. It was necessary to work from home and turn one's home into an office. So why not take this principle and only turn it the other way around? Turning offices into future homes only needs our will to overcome rigid ideas about housing, and it needs our will to overcome bureaucracy. So never let a good crisis go to waste, as Churchill once famously said. Let's remember, Corona taught us that everything can be overturned if needed. War in Ukraine has proven that the distribution of people can be done in bottom-up approach. And at this point, I need to tell you that we will most likely be even more people to share less space in the future. And last but not least, climate crisis. Climate crisis teaches us that we need to act now. There's too much at stake if we don't change our way of life. So imagine what the impact could be if we started acting today. As an individual flat seeker, changing one's own ideas about housing. As a company, incorporating architects when it comes to finding new solutions of using their vacant offices. Or as a startup, with new ideas of converting offices into future homes. Only then can the challenging housing crisis be solved sustainably, and architecture could become a dream job again. Thank you.